This will be used by our enemies to motivate people to attack Americans and American facilities overseas, and I am genuinely concerned by that, as was the Secretary of State and the Director of National Intelligence.
They are bracing around the world for reaction if and when a controversial report on CIA torture is announced. For there is no doubt there will be reprisals. People will be targeted. And it's a bipartisan opinion that we are about to make yet another critical mistake with regard to American security. Let's welcome to MidPoint the former Deputy Assistant to Vice President Dick Cheney, Daily Beast contributor, and the CEO of Christie Strategist, LLC, Ron Christie. Ron, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Nice to join you again.
Ron, is there any doubt in your mind whatsoever that should this Senate report be made public in its entirety, well, we say entirety because there will be some portions redacted, but this will lead to a greater amount of violence directed to Americans from terrorists around the world?
Well, not only violence directed towards Americans from terrorists around the world, but also putting our assets, our agents, and the agents of our allies at significant risk. If it's one thing that those on the left don't seem to understand, is that you never reveal the tactics and the methods upon which the United States not only receives intelligence, but the way that we disseminate intelligence. Not only the way that we receive and disseminate intelligence, but the way that we extract intelligence from high-value targets who have information that's sensitive to perhaps save the lives of Americans or our allies. So I don't see any upsides of this release, and I only see harm coming to the United States, our allies, and our assets around the world.
Then, Ron, with what you just said, why don't members of the left then, quote-unquote, get it? If they know there's secrets in here, and if they know that the people who want to kill us, kill Americans, are using these things to their advantage, why then are they so damned that it has to come out and Americans need to know every single thing?
And this is about their assuaging their liberal guilt about how bad of a country we are. We torture people, we collect people whose innocence should be proclaimed in a court of law rather than in a detention center such as Guantanamo Bay, where they don't and are not afforded constitutional rights. The left seem to believe that if only we treated people fairly, if only, as Hillary Clinton said, that we could empathize with those who hate us, that somehow they'd turn around and they'd see America in a new light. But I've got news for you, Ed. They're not going to. They hate us because we believe in freedom, liberty, and democracy, and I just don't understand why those on the left just don't seem to comprehend the potential danger they're putting the country in.
What about the factor that apparently there will be things in this story, or in this report rather, that will say that George W. Bush was misled by the CIA, yet the president himself stands by the CIA report rather than distance himself? What is he thinking in all this?
Well, for having worked not only for Vice President Dick Cheney, but also as a special assistant to President George W. Bush, I can tell you I know the way that he thinks, and he relies on his advisors, those in a position to understand intelligence, those in a position to advise him on those sensitive matters. And if it's one thing that President George W. Bush is that he's very loyal. He places trust in people, but he's the ultimate person who makes the decision based on the trusted information he's been given. So it wouldn't surprise me at all that while there are those who suggest that he should distance himself from the report, I think he will embrace the decision that he made because obviously at the time he thought with the intelligence he possessed, he made the right decisions.
Ron, former director of the CIA, John McLaughlin, told the Times on Sunday that this report, quote, uses information selectively, often distorts to make its points, and as I recall, contains no recommendations, unquote. Would you agree with that, or would you say that, in your opinion, this report will be somewhat skewed to fit agendas?
Well, for not having seen it, I don't want to prejudge it too much, but yes, I will take your last point. I think this is clearly about prejudgment. It's clearly about skewing public opinion rather than it is discussing how our intelligence community has reacted since 9/11 and how our intelligence community has kept us safe since that terrible day. I think this, again, is more of a political agenda, a political vendetta of America's such a terrible, bad place, and gee, we need to make sure that we don't use waterboarding. We don't use facilities such as Guantanamo Bay again because, oh goodness, we're so bad. It really upsets me the amount of money, the amount of time, the amount of training that we've placed with so many folks around the globe who keep America safe that for a political agenda, Ed, I think people are willing to expose that for their own personal political vindication.
I got about 20 seconds left, then we'll take a break and come back. But Senator Feinstein and Senator Claire McCaskill as well, do you think that maybe, with all due respect, they need to wake up a little bit and see how the rest of the world runs on a daily basis when it comes to killing and terrorism?
I do. I have great respect for Senator Feinstein from my beloved home state of California as a elected official, but as her wisdom here clearly demonstrates, it's a little lacking along with Senator McCaskill if they want to put this information out for the public to see and our enemies to learn how best to harm us in the future.
All right, stand by. Breaking back with more from Ron Christie. We turn our attention inward to the power shift in American politics and the violence shift in misguided demonstrations. It's coming up right here on MidPoint.